Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tom Baker Show. My name is Tom Baker. This week's show being powered by Rad Race Gear, Radical Race Gear. If you want to be a champion, you first ought to look like one. For all of the top communication, crew shirts, custom fire suits, gloves, helmet, accessories, restraint, shoes, gear, pop-up tents, it's all radicalracegear.com. It's all their territory, and they do the best job at it. If you want to be a champion, look like a champion, Radical Race Gear is the way to go. Check them out at radicalracegear.com. We've got a lot to cover here on this week's show. We're going to start with the Millbridge Speedway here in Salisbury, North Carolina. Ran a $1,000 to win non-winged micro race that was actually sponsored by Slide Job Ranch. Ricky Stenhouse on hand as part of that, and we'll get to that in a moment. But first, want to talk about the wing micro race because history was made again at Millbridge last night. Karter Beattie, 13 years old, out of Concord, North Carolina, and one of our clients with Steering Wheel Nation, picked up his second straight win in the winged micro division at Millbridge. And why is that history? Because that has only happened twice in the history of Millbridge Speedway that a driver has won back-to-back winged micro races. And I am really excited to say it is Karter and Karter last year and this year. So Karter Beattie 2 in a row now. And we've got sound from my interview with him after the race.
Karter Beattie, 2 in a row in wing micro at Millbridge, 4th overall in the micro sprint division. And I heard a rumor that winning 2 in a row in the wing micro class has only happened twice. Karter Beattie and Karter Beattie. That must feel pretty cool.
Yeah, we did it last year and we did it again now. Just came from 6th, got a good restart. Passed the cars on the start. We had a red and I thought it threw really good. I passed Newman. We had a really good run. I ran the top as good as I could without getting up in the fluff. Track was pretty rough. It was gripped up though. Hats off to Jeremy. The track was pretty gripped up tonight.
It was.
We were on the pole for qualifying. So that was a couple points. We went from 4th to 2nd in our heat race. Had a really good one. For our main, started 6th. We ended up 1st because SKE just had this thing rolling tonight.
Sure did. So you were battling pretty hard there through most of the race. And talk a little bit about the difference between the top and the bottom come feature time, because it looked like you were basically trying both grooves.
I knew that everybody was going to get stacked up on the bottom, and with the wing cars, you just have to. It makes more downforce if you make your own lane and not get drop in behind somebody because the weight goes on the back of the wing. So I ran to the top and just tried to move around people with a lot of momentum, and everybody was choking up on the bottom, and I got them on the top. So
3 out of the last 4 wins here for this car, of course, between you and Catfish Carson, who filled in for you, and while you were on the injured list. So I know you guys, neither of you could do this by yourselves. So talk about who helps you make it happen, crew sponsors and all of that.
MPI, SKE, KBR, Simpson, Leading Edge Event Logistics, LaJoy Seating, Jeremy and Ashley, Millbridge, just everybody that makes this place so good. My dad, my mom, for sure. Adam puts in a lot of work hours and a lot of days into these cars to make them perfect. Cruiser Tires, BCS Construction, Stock Car Steel and Aluminum, SRI. Just really everybody that comes out and helps. And hats off to Nathan. We're going to have a pretty good points battle here. He ended up 3rd, so we're just going to try to hold him off for the points lead.
SKE versus SKE at the moment for the points lead there. Congratulations again, Karter. 2 in a row for Karter Beattie at Millbridge.
Thank you.
And it is SKE versus SKE because Nathan Mendering finished 3rd, and both of those two on SKE carts, they are now battling for the championship in the micro division. Note that SKE not building their micros, but they are teammates under the 10. Incidentally, Brooklyn Newman, the daughter of NASCAR legend Ryan Newman, finished second to Karter in that feature event. Did a great job. Cool to see Brooklyn getting faster in the 52. Trevor Klein beat Aiden Price and Aiden Turner to win the Slide Job Ranch 1,000 to win non-wing micro feature. Gabe Iacono got the victory in the restricted micro, with Blake Crooms and DJ Beach following Steven Totgiz, and Mobach Tournier finished first and second in the Champ Karts event, and Tanner Cheek beat Tanner Tucker and Joseph Cheek in the intermediate division at Millbridge. Okay. Let's move on, shall we, to talk about a track. We've talked a lot about tracks opening over the last few weeks, coming back to life. Unfortunately, this is a little bit of bad news. So the New River All American Speedway, which is in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and has had a few different names over the years since I've been in the Charlotte area in 2006 at least, is closing effective immediately. They ran their last race last weekend. No official news on why, but lots of speculation from insiders close to the situation that say that it was low car counts and low spectator counts that contributed to that closing. That speedway, I was there one time for a UARA race, and one of the coolest tracks in North Carolina. It's really a shame that the new owners could make a go of it, because when they got a hold of it, they put a lot into it and really did their best to keep things going. But it just didn't sustain, and it's a tough environment when you're not drawing cars or fans. And that's kind of a track that's in Jacksonville. You got the, what is it? I think it's an Air Force base or an Army base there. But there's just not a ton of population, and I think it just was a little difficult for them to keep things moving. So a shame to hear that, and hopefully perhaps at some point somebody can try it again, but it certainly doesn't look good for the future of New River All American Speedway in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Incidentally, the Ararat Bull Ring has run 2 races now, both with excellent crowds and car counts increased for the second race. There are some big shows coming up there. We've talked a lot about Ararat over the last few weeks. So despite the fact that New River is closing for now, certainly the environment for short tracks in the state of North Carolina and Virginia, Tennessee area still looks very, very good. With that, we are going to take a break, because when we come back, we're going to dive into both NASCAR and IndyCar, and there's a lot to talk about with both. We're going to do it right after this.
Attention track and series owners, elevate your fan experience with the TrackTune app. TrackTune works with your PA system. Fans and teams at the track can hear the announcers through their phones, ensuring everyone hears race calls, sponsor plugs, and more during race nights. It's simple to set up, affordable, and free for fans to download and enjoy. Visit tracktune.live for all the details, and join Tracks nationwide on the app today.
For over 50 years, FHS Superior Synthetic Oil has powered high-performance engines with unbeatable protection and speed. Whether it's drag racing, go-karts, sprint cars, stock cars, or your daily driver, FHS stands for high speed and delivers every time. Their advanced synthetic oils boost your engine's responsiveness, acceleration, and efficiency, giving you the winning edge on every lap. Visit FHSoil.com today to find the right products for your engine. FHSoil.com.
For race fans across the United States, GetInTheStands.com is the place to find racetracks where you live and where you're traveling. Just go to GetInTheStands.com and enter your location. You'll see the tracks within 100 miles of that point, either as a list or on a map. GetInTheStands.com is 100% free to use and mobile friendly. So whether you're on a computer, a tablet, or on your phone, there's no need to download an app. To find racetracks across the United States, open your web browser and head to
So this past Sunday was motorsports heaven, as we like to call it around here. The three big races of the year, back to back to back. Formula One starts it all off with the Grand Prix of Monaco, and then, of course, the Indy 500. And to finish it up in the evening, the Coca-Cola 600 for the NASCAR Cup Series at Charlotte. We're actually going to talk about them in reverse, because once we get to IndyCar, we're going to be a while. So let's start with the NASCAR Coca-Cola 600. First of all, NASCAR and Charlotte Motor Speedway announced a sellout at CMS for the Cup race on Sunday. And I can vouch, having been there and been in the infield looking at the grandstands, I don't know that you could have, I mean, if it wasn't a total sellout, it was 98%. Just some incredible fans out there on Sunday, and a great crowd. It was great to see that. The race itself, honestly, unbelievable. Ross Chastain ends up getting the win. And let me tell you, when Ross Chastain wins a Cup race, he celebrates his way. The watermelon smash is just the beginning. He spends a lot of time in victory lane, has a great time. And just to give you some perspective, those of us who are on the grounds covering his media sit in a deadline room inside the media center. And that's where the drivers come in and all of the press conferences happen and all of that to talk to us. Well, it was about almost 2 hours and about 15 minutes before Ross Chastain got to us after he won. And I'm going to get to a reason why, or at least part of it, afterward when we talk about the coverage that Prime presented to us on Sunday, because it was incredible. But the race itself was almost, you could say boring. I'm not going to call it that, though. If you only looked at the front, William Byron led over 200 laps. He clearly dominated the event. But in the end, it was Chastain that was the top car, and he got the win. And we've got sound with Mr. Ross. And who doesn't want to hear from Ross Chastain? So here you go.
I got to tell you, Ross, when you started 40th today, did you think that this was even possible?
Marty, I'm going to soak this in.
You should.
Did I? Yes. When I left the shop last night, I went over, sat in this car for the first time. It was about 10 o'clock when I left. They worked till 2:30. They were back at 5:30 this morning. Most of them drive 30, 45 minutes home. Little shower, I think. I don't even know if they slept back there at 5:30 to get this thing ready. And that's the dedication it takes from Trackhouse. There was people there that had their Saturdays off yesterday, and they came in. And for this jockey Chevy and the McRae family to carry them. Well,
you got his picture.
He was riding with me, Mr. McRae. His family's here with Allie and mom and sister, brother. That's what this weekend's all about, is to think about and remember the ones that sacrificed so much for us. Al Neese, my truck team owner, Marine veteran, so happy to drive for him. Thought we were going to get one on Friday night, but for tonight, Trackhouse, Team Chevy, Busch Light, the Moose, Acceptance Insurance, Wendy's. I got to look, it's been so long, I feel like. The McRae family told me to be a sponge. That was something that their dad told them a lot, and I got to tell you, I didn't feel much like a sponge tonight. I was rattling around out there, but to drive on that final run in the World 600 and pass two cars that have been way better all night. Phil Surgeon wanted me to pit 2 laps earlier. I went 2 laps longer just out of a little bit of confusion, and man, that paid off at the end. These Goodyear Eagles held on longer because they were a little bit fresher, and holy cow, we just won the World 600!
Walk me through the highs and lows of the weekend, Ross, because you were in the turn 3 and 4 wall in the middle of practice, and then somehow you wind up in victory lane. How did you, first of all, get through that moment Saturday and then pull off the final pass on William Byron tonight?
Well, how did I do that? My team built me another car. For about an hour and a half, we thought we were going to have to fix the primary, and that would have been fine. And then NASCAR said, no, there's something bent too much, so go build another one, and we did. That's how we did that. How we drove through the field tonight was just stayed in it. I didn't get too happy when I was passing cars. I didn't get too sad when we caught that first green flag cycle on the wrong side of it. So with the goal of eating one of these Inzazat and Florida watermelons, this thing's fresh from Florida. It just came up from our family farm this week. Last week, I guess, we came up. And, man, for the Florida watermelon industry, that's your watermelons you're getting right now. So you all better go buy a dang watermelon to celebrate. I want to see videos of smashed watermelons. Flood the socials. I want to see it. Florida watermelons are in season, and but I passed them because my team built me a car, and they were there all night, Marty.
What a statement win for Trackhouse Racing and Ross Chastain. His first ever crown jewel victory. He gets it in the Coca-Cola 600, Trevor.
First of all, how can you not like a guy in victory lane eating a watermelon that he's just smashed onto the racetrack? Then, if that wasn't enough, for those of you who weren't there to see this, he took a bunch of that up in the grandstand and was eating watermelon with the fans, and they were passing it back and forth, right? Like this, it was just great stuff. Ross is so authentic, and of course, you heard him mention that the team had to build an entirely new car after a crash to even start this race. So back to front for Melon Man, as we like to call him, and Chastain was just simply spectacular. Kyle Larson had an interesting weekend. We're going to talk more about Kyle's weekend when we get to the Indy part of this, but the Cup race was, I mean, he was around longer than he was around, if that makes sense. He started outside pole, led a few laps early, and then he hit the wall. And then he had more problems. It just was a bad night for Kyle Larson, and really a bad day because, of course, he crashed out of the Indy 500 as well, but more on that later. Just a fantastic Cup race, I thought. Lots of comers and goers. It was interesting from the drop of the green to the checkered. I have no negative words to say about the Coca-Cola 600 at all. And one thing I want to highlight here is the first time streaming coverage on Amazon Prime. And I'll be the first to say, I wasn't a fan, and I'm still not a fan of NASCAR having all of these multiple medias involved in their coverage of the racing, because it just makes it difficult for the fans to find. And of course, there are a good chunk of the older part of the fan base who don't have Amazon Prime, who don't have internet and don't have smart TVs. So they just simply couldn't watch it. So I do feel bad for them, especially because I feel like the coverage of that race, and I was watching it in the media center. Again, for those who are just wondering, how does this all work for you media guys anyway? Well, we get the television feed in the media center, so we're watching the same feed you are, basically. It's the raw feed. And I also had it on my laptop because I wanted to see it the way the viewers saw it, so that I could talk about it that way. The graphics were far better than anything else I've seen on Fox or NBC in forever. The graphics were fantastic. Only 9 minutes of commercials, and the only time they went full commercial was during cautions. Side-by-sides, strictly during green flag, from what I could see. 2-hour post-race show. It felt like the 80s again. It takes you back to the days of ESPN and some of the earlier coverage when you get the proper post-race show where they could really do some analysis. I cannot say enough good about the Amazon Prime coverage. It's really a shame that it's happening on a streaming network, but it's also because it's a streaming network that you can get a 2-hour post-race show. You're never going to get that on Fox or NBC because they've got too many programming priorities. They're trying to get to the news or some other show, and you're obviously going to get 10 times more commercials basically when Fox broadcasts or NBC broadcasts a race, it's pretty much a commercial fest with some laps of racing in between. But Fox in particular this year's, their coverage I thought was awful. So this was so refreshing. The commentary was great. It was just really an incredible first effort. And the fact that I think it'll only get sharper and better from here for the next 4 weeks just makes me look forward to those next 4 broadcasts. So by the way, you can get a 30-day free trial to Amazon Prime, in case you didn't know. So now you can watch the rest of the races for free. Just make sure you cancel before they charge your card. But brilliant coverage on Prime. Now, we had some other racing as well. Corey Heim. How many times can you say Heim time before you just realize that this is a young man that needs to be in Cup like now? The truck race, again, great race. ARCA race, great race as well. You're going to have some wrecks of those races. It was really a fun Friday at Charlotte, and I feel like they're really on to something. When the fans come here for the Coca-Cola 600, you get ARCA, you get trucks, you get Xfinity, and you get Cup. I wish that we would see that much action at more of the tracks, because I think that's one of the things from the fan experience point of view that current day NASCAR lacks, is there is not enough on-track racing action at a lot of these tracks. And I'm happy to see that Charlotte is maintaining that. And it was an awful lot of fun to see. The ARCA race, obviously you got a mixed bag here of youth and experience. And, that's kind of how that series rolls. But they put on a great show. The truck race, again, Corey Heim continues to show why he is perfectly capable of being in an upper series. And one more thing from the weekend, lots of talk in the garage area that I was hearing from talking to different people about the upcoming Mexico race. There's a lot of excitement about that race, and still a lot of sort of logistical challenges that I'm hearing that teams are finding. They're working through that with NASCAR, of course. Daniel Suarez, oh, by the way, will drive for Junior Motorsports to the number 9 in the Xfinity race that weekend, which means he's now running in both the Xfinity and the Cup Series. Not surprising. He is the hometown hero at this point in Mexico for that weekend. So it should be interesting to see how that goes off. But it was certainly a topic of conversation that I had with several different unrelated people over the weekend. So it's just interesting to hear that there's that much kind of excitement and still yet curiosity about how this is all going to work out. So we'll see. With that, we are going to take a break, because when we come back, we are going to sit back and talk Indy 500, and we've got a ton to unpack from that, and also hit F1 before we're done. We'll be back with more after this. For over 50 years, FHS Superior Synthetic Oil has powered high-performance engines with unbeatable protection and speed. Whether it's drag racing, go-karts, sprint cars, stock cars, or your daily driver, FHS stands for high speed and delivers every time. Their advanced synthetic oils boost your engine's responsiveness, acceleration, and efficiency, giving you the winning edge on every lap. Visit FHSoil.com today to find the right products for your engine. FHSoil.com.
For race fans across the United States, GetInTheStands.com is the place to find racetracks where you live and where you're traveling. Just go to GetInTheStands.com and enter your location. You'll see the tracks within 100 miles of that point, either as a list or on a map. GetInTheStands.com is 100% free to use and mobile friendly. So whether you're on a computer, a tablet, or on your phone, there's no need to download an app. To find racetracks across the United States, open your web browser and head to GetInTheStands.com. GetInTheStands.com, your racetrack directory.
Attention track and series owners, elevate your fan experience with the Track Tune app. Track Tune works with your PA system. Fans and teams at the track can hear the announcers through their phones, ensuring everyone hears race calls, sponsor plugs, and more during race nights. It's simple to set up, affordable, and free for fans to download and enjoy. Visit tracktune.live for all the details. and join tracks nationwide on the app today.
Welcome back, and we hit the Indy 500 now. This race out of the three is clearly my favorite. And to me, it's the race that always has the greatest amount of just electricity, intensity, and excitement from pre-race all the way through the last lap and victory lane. This year's Indy 500, the 109th running, by the way, got off to a wet start. They had a persistent sprinkle at Indy that set in shortly before they were scheduled to get in the cars and get started, and it just wouldn't stop. It delayed the 500 for a considerable amount of time. And of course, the thread running through that all the way to Charlotte was Kyle Larson, because he only had a kind of a short window. He had to be out of the car and on the plane and to get back to Charlotte on time to start the 600. Had about an hour and a half window, ended up with about a 45-minute window, and then didn't need it, unfortunately. But we'll get there. Let's talk about how things went in sequential order. First off, we talked about the rain. Once that finally stopped, we got cars on the racetrack, and Scotty McLaughlin, warming up his tires, crashed in turn one and took himself out of the race before the green flag even started. Again, Team Penske, having two cars put to the back of the field after disqualifications in qualifying the week before, now having this to deal with. And unfortunately, Kyle Larson appeared to get caught up in that particular incident, even though he wasn't involved. Here's what happened. So when the crash happened, Larson's spotter, Tyler Mann, on the radio to Larson said someone crashed, and then, I won't use the word, of course, effing idiot. So basically calling McLaughlin an idiot. And then Kyle Larson, when he came past the McLaughlin car, put the thumbs up sign out the window. So, you know, this becomes messy, doesn't it? I mean, now, you know, people are trying to defend Larson, saying he was just trying to see if he was okay, but there was no direct communication with McLaughlin there. I don't know that Scott even saw him. Again, dear spotters, be professional, for crying out loud. It's not about your running commentary on the radio. You all know by now that this is all public. There's nothing you're saying on the radio to your drivers. I don't care, NASCAR, IndyCar, all the way down to short tracks. Okay, this is not a place for your opinions or your commentary. Okay, that makes you look like the idiot. Okay, and honestly, I'm a little surprised Tyler Mann still has a job. And he should be lucky that he does, because that's an embarrassment to Kyle Larson and McLaren and Hendrick and everybody involved there. That's just not a good look. And Larson's thumbs up again. It's like, Kyle, what are you doing? What are you doing? I mean, you've had enough controversy over the last, handful of years, haven't you? I mean, what was that about? So I don't know, even if it was meant to be some sort of a, glad you're okay kind of thing. It's just a bad look, and doesn't make either Tyler or Kyle look professional at all. Okay, Fox. Can we talk about how bad Fox's coverage of this race was? And I don't mean to be grumpy and on Fox, but I kind of do, because they missed the formation lap. Now, again, there are certain traditions at Indy. You just don't screw this up. But they were so busy trying to squeeze a commercial break in before the race started, they missed the formation lap where the pace car goes off the track, the cars get into formation, and they were barely back in time to awkwardly call what was an awful start to the race, honestly. But in their coverage felt like it was sort of disjointed. Some of the transitions and, the flow that they had with the camera coverage and all that, it just felt like they were behind the action for a lot of the day. Very disappointing to me, to be quite honest. And they never showed a rundown at the end of the race either. I feel like if you're going to cover the Indianapolis 500, you got to do better than that. I think Fox screwed up badly. They definitely don't get a thumbs up from me for their coverage at all. Marco Andretti, again, we're still on in the first 5 laps, folks. Marco Andretti, a couple cars touched wheels. Andretti got turned around, into the wall he went. Man, the Andretti curse just continues at Indy. Hate that for Marco. No chance to see what he could do. Takuma Sato was a story. He led the first 40, 50 laps of this race, driving for Rahal Letterman Lanigan. Of course, he's a 2-time winner. What was amazing to watch is there were 3 RLL cars in the race. 2 of them ran up front, and the one you'd think would, with Graham Rahal driving, not even close. He was a back marker. I don't know what's going on with Graham. Super nice guy, and I believe in his ability to drive a race car. Indy's just not been good to him lately at all. Sato obviously not in it to win it at the end, but ran strong for Rahal Letterman Lanigan. I would bet that both he and Elio Castroneves will be back to compete at Indy again next year. Okay, Kyle Larson. Larson had a tough month, as we mentioned. He crashed a couple of times in pre-race activities, and during the race, he was okay, not great. Ended up spinning into the wall. Not really ever a factor. Unfortunately, in that, he took out Stingray Robb, and I think there was someone else involved too, but Kyle not needing any extra time, though I should point out, because I spend enough time being critical of NASCAR, I will applaud them because according to what was said on SiriusXM radio earlier this week, NASCAR was in contact with people on the ground with that particular team and would have been willing to wait a few extra minutes to start the Coca-Cola 600 had Larson needed some time to finish the race and get there, which I think is absolutely the right thing to do. And thank you, NASCAR. Unfortunately, again, Kyle didn't need it. It's tough. It's tough to make a transition. These cars had the hybrid systems in this year for the first time. Kyle had never experienced that until obviously the month of May when he got in the car. A lot of drivers were complaining about how much that changed the cars and the way that they handled and how you had to drive them. And it seemed like maybe Kyle downshifted at a point when maybe he shouldn't have, and that's what broke the tires loose and got him sideways. But sad for Kyle. I feel bad for him because honestly, he's now had 2 tries at the double, and both of them, rain has been a factor. Both of them, obviously the first one you're learning, and he was a factor last year. It felt like he had a shot to actually win it, and a pit stop mistake took them out of competition for the win in that race. And then this year just never really got to a competitive stage. The question becomes, will Kyle Larson try the double again? The only thing that any of us know right now is that what Kyle has said in the past and even recently is that he's doing it again this year, meaning 25, and then probably not for a while. He has not said anything to the effect that he wants to do this again for 2026. I hope he does personally, because I think that you can only get better. And I'd like to see Kyle complete both races. And we know he has the talent to do that. And it just, again, both years have been fraught with logistical issues, which do make things difficult. But hopefully we see Kyle Larson try this again. I hope Kyle Busch, I hope some other drivers will try it. Because honestly, despite what some folks are saying, even Dale Jr. talking about it like it's maybe the fans don't get that excited, I can assure you that the fans that follow the Indy 500 and NASCAR and the Coke 600, the short track fan base, the older fans that have seen this before with Tony Stewart and John Andretti and Danica Patrick and whoever, those fans want to see somebody pull that off. They understand that accomplishment does two things. One, if you can complete both of those events, you are a wheelman or woman. You are a driver. Okay, that's an accomplishment that's bigger than sport, really. It comes into endurance. It comes into the ability to compete at the highest level and, run for basically what? If you count the travel time and everything, it's probably a 12-hour day. It's probably 7 hours worth of racing. The accomplishment of it is something that I think a lot of fans want to see. So I hope that drivers won't be shy about trying it, but I also hope that the sanctioning bodies would get together, and I would bring up a quote that Justin Marks said in the press room after the NASCAR race. Ross Chastain's car owner, Justin Marks, said, look, the industry is not big enough for folks to sort of be wanting to fight against things like this. He said he feels like that those involved should be working together to help it to happen and not trying to impede it from happening. So whether, start times get adjusted or whatever, I think that there are a lot of people who see the value in this as a mainstream kind of event, doing the double, that kind of usurps both races. By the way, the Indy 500, 7 million plus viewers. Crazy number. That was by far the biggest IndyCar viewership in, I think, over 10 years. That was amazing to me to see that many views for the 500, the NASCAR Cup race. A little over 2 million, almost 3 million, I guess. And that's pretty respectable. It was only down maybe 15% from last year's 600 on Fox. But again, you're accounting for the fact that your top age portion of your audience just doesn't know what to do with Amazon Prime, and a lot of fans don't want to deal with that. But overall, I'd say that was, I think it was 2.6, something like that. That was a good number. And I just think both races showed that there are still an awful lot of fans out there that care about them both. So I hope the double continues. Of course, Alex Palou getting the win over Ericsson and Malukas. But here's the thing. Then we get to post-race. Now, I don't remember. I've been watching Indy 500 since about 1974. I don't remember the last time I saw post-race disqualifications. This year, 3 of them. Okay, and what's crazy about this is it comes on the heels of the Penske DQs in practice. Insanity. Here's what happened. Marcus Ericsson and Kyle Kirkwood, both Andretti cars, and Prima Racing's driver Callum Ilott, his car, were all disqualified, all due to tech infractions. Ericsson and Kirkwood were found to have modified the EMS covers and mounting points between the cover and the A-arm with unapproved spacers and parts. Sounds like something in NASCAR, right? And then Ilott's Prima Racing car didn't meet the minimum end plate height and location specifications. So that was basically a wing height issue, wing angle issue on that car. All 3 cars to the back of the order. Everybody, each car, $100,000 fine, and team and competition managers will serve a 1-race suspension at the next race in Detroit. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what you call throwing the book at those teams. And I've been asked multiple times how I feel about this, and my answer is always the same. Good. I want to see some more. I realize that it's the Indy 500, and this is, it's the greatest spectacle in racing, and it may be the greatest race in the world. At least that's how I feel. But if you're illegal, you get disqualified. And I'm happy to see that we did what we did, or they did what they did, because I want to see everybody fair. I want to see everybody legal. Everybody says if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Well, that may be true, but if you get caught, then you get caught. You deserve to be punished for that. I don't have an issue with any of this, but I hope that it becomes consistent now. In other words, what I'm hoping is that what happened this past Sunday in the post race wasn't somebody's idea of, well, let's not kind of make our Penske situation stand out by going and having even more penalties, showing that they're fair across the board, right? That they're not letting things go. They're not missing things. I'm hoping this just wasn't sort of a reflex reaction to the Penske deal from the weekend before, because honestly, I think all races, that's how tech should be. And so, great win for Alex Palou. He is literally cleaning house in IndyCar so far in 2025, and I'm here for it. Alex is, to me, a generational talent. And again, IndyCars are so specific now. It's not easy to go from one form of racing like a Cup car to an Indy car. You've got all kinds of the downforce, and the feel is completely different. The grip, all of the things, driver controls on the wheel. It is a completely foreign experience. And so Alex Palou in that series, to me, a generational talent. He really is. And, again, sometimes you just have one of those years. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how many more wins that Palou racks up. He's going to have an opportunity coming up at Detroit, the Detroit Grand Prix on the schedule for this weekend. F1, Monaco. Not much to say about this. It was its usual boring self. It's just not a great track. The cars are too big, track's too narrow, hard to pass there. You basically win it in qualifying. Max Verstappen got the win. That race, by the way, going to June, starting in 2026. It's off the Memorial Day weekend Sunday calendar. I'm kind of bummed about that just because of the tradition of it. But, it's just not a great race. So, again, Verstappen getting the win there. And that's going to wrap things up for this show. It was a quick one. For more exclusive content, join us at steeringwheelnation.com and our 24/7 streaming page, of course, at watchpowertubetv.com. Just look up Steering Wheel Nation. Under podcast, you'll find us. Thanks to Radical Race Gear, FHS Oil, and all of our sponsors for making this possible. At The Wheel Nation on Facebook and Instagram. So long.